Scene 1, as you can see by the stage directions, we have characters named Samson and Gregory with weapons, sword and buckler, buckler, shield, of the house Capulet. So remember from the prologue, two houses built of like and dignity? This is one of the houses, House Capulet. And the other house is House Montague. So, let's start.
Gregory! On my word, we'll not carry coals.
No, for then, we should be colliers.
I mean, are we being collar? We'll draw.
Aye, while you live, draw your neck out of collar.
Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Oh boy, was that funny. I know you didn't get that. Okay, so what's happening here is there's a series of puns that they're punning off of each other and it makes it humorous. Now this means almost nothing to us because a lot of these words we don't use or associate with anymore, so the puns don't stick. So let me explain it. On my word will not carry coals. That's an old idiom for varying insults. We won't be insulted. We won't carry coals. No, because if we carried coals, we'd be colliers, who are literally people that carry coals, like a miner or something. I mean, we'll be collar. Collar is anger. So coal, collar is collar. No, while you live, draw your neck out of the collar. So collar, this could have two meanings, like a dog's collar, like you're a serpent, or collar like a noose, you'll be dead. So coals to colliers to collar to collar. But this would have been hilarious for Shakespeare's people. It is not for us. We don't use these words. It doesn't make sense. I would say if you want to see a really good, fun, creative, intellectual use of puns and building a whole series, like a sketch around puns, pause right now and go into YouTube and type in "Who's on First?" WHO''S, Who's on First? And you'll find probably the greatest sketch comedy skit of all time. It's all based upon puns that we understand, and it's funny, it's clever, it makes you giggle. That's what Shakespeare's audience would have felt like with these foreign lines. So please go watch that, and then come back. Alright, now back with Samson and Gregory.
I strike quickly, being moved.
But thou art not quickly moved to strike.
A dog in a house of Montague moves me.
To move is to stir, and to be valiant is to stand. Therefore, if thou art moved, thou runs the word.
So a few things. I strike quickly being moved. You're not quickly moved to strike. Oh yeah, you'll strike if you're attacked. Or when angry, but you won't be quick to be the first one to attack. Like, you're only brave if something's happening to you, not to be the offender. A dog of the house of Montague moves me. So that could mean two things. Literally, I hate the Montague so much that one of their dogs, like a woof dog, would make me fight or make me angry, or just generally the Montagues are dogs. And then Gregory's like, yeah, sure, you're more likely to run away than fight.
A dog of that house shall move me to stand. I will take the wall of any man or maid of Montagues.
Take the wall. That's another old idiom. So in Shakespeare's time, people didn't have indoor plumbing. You would go to the bathroom with something called a chamber pot, which is really just a metal bucket, and the same thing with all of your waste. What you would do is you would put it in a bucket and you would throw it out the window. Now, because this is your house, you wouldn't want it to dribble down like the poop that's in the chamber pot. You want it to dribble down the side of your wall. So you want to chuck this as far into the street as possible, because you don't want it to be near your house. So the safest place to walk is next to the wall, because that's the least likely place you'll have of getting poop thrown on you. And if got thrown on you, you would have a crappy day. Okay, let's continue. So I would take the wall. So if there was a Montague and I were hugging the wall, approaching each other, I would push him out of the way. Like, I would show that I was a man to the Montagues.
Shows thee a weak slave, for the weakest goes to the wall.
'Tis true, and therefore women, being the weaker vessels, are ever thrust to the wall. Therefore I will push Montague's men from the wall, and thrust his maids to the wall.
Yeah, that's exactly what you think it is. That's a rape joke. He will push Montague's men from the wall, and thrust his maids to the wall. Yeah, that's like, movie, dark alley kind of stuff. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. I'll fight the men, and I'll rape the women. That's exactly what's happening. Let's continue.
Quarrel is between our masters and us, their men.
Hey, calm down. This is a fight between the men in these families. Leave the women out of it. And then Samson says,
"'Tis all one. I will show myself a tyrant. When I fought with the men, I will be cruel with the maids. I will cut off their heads."
Alright, so one thing here. You probably noticed that the word on the page is civil, but the audio said cruel. This is because when Shakespeare wrote his plays, number one, he didn't really have a master copy that had all the parts all in order. He would give each actor their own part. But on top of that, over time, he might have changed a word or two or a whole bunch of words. So after his death, when they compiled the plays, he might have been working with different versions. So the version that you're hearing is slightly different than the version that this company published. That's it. Says, one, I'll show myself a tyrant. I'll fight with the maids, I'll be civil, or I'll be cruel with the maids. Maids, those are women. Could be virgins, but generally women. I will cut off their heads. Yeah, I'll be civil, or I'll be cruel, and I'll just cut off their heads and make it done really fast. And now, good old-fashioned dirty, dirty pun.
Heads of the maids?
Right, the heads of the maids, or their maiden heads. Take it in what sense thou wilt.
Okay. The heads of the maids, so the maids, their heads, I'll cut off their heads, or I'll cut off their maiden heads, which is an old way of saying virginity. Yeah, that just happened. Then it is take it in what sense thou wilt. Interpret that however you want to interpret it. Take it however you want to take it. What I've just said. But wait, it gets worse.
I must take it in sense that feel it.
He kind of puns off of that. Well, you said, I need to take it, I need to interpret it. No, I won't be taking it. They will be taking it, because they will feel it. He's building off of that rape joke. Yes, this is happening. This is completely happening. That line might be the first that's what she said joke in all of history. Well, take what sense thou wilt. Well, they'll take it, wink, wink. Okay? But wait, it gets worse.
Me they shall feel while I'm able to stand, and 'tis known I'm a pretty piece of flesh.
Me they shall feel while I am able to stand, and 'tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh. So when he says stand, he does not mean his legs. They'll feel me as long as I can stand. He doesn't mean standing on his legs. He means a part of his body standing erect. They will feel it as long as it can stand. Stand erect. Yes, that's what he's talking about. "'Tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh." Well, it's well known that that part of me, that part that will stand up, is a pretty piece of flesh. It's well known that that's good looking. He's bragging about his male private parts. That they're famous. And they're good. Yeah, this is exactly what's happening. If you actually leave some teenage boys alone for a long enough period of time, stuff like this can happen, and they just start talking about nonsense.
Well, thou art not fish. If thou hadst been poor John.
And that is a hilarious, dirty body image. 'Tis well thou art not fish. Well, it's a good thing you're not like a fish. And you know, if you go into a market, you know, or the supermarket, and there's the fish on the ice. If you were to grab that fish by the tail, what would the rest of it do? It would just flop down. Oh, it's well that your pretty piece of flesh that you were just talking about is not floppy. Because, you know, it can stand. And yeah, all of this just happened. Now, I know what you're saying, but wait a minute. Shakespeare's supposed to be like a dude holding a skull with a knee up, saying something really important like, to be or not to be, that is the question. Yeah, there's a ton of that in Shakespeare. There's also a ton of this. Dirty jokes, kind of jokes that we would judge now in poor humor. Well, why? Shakespeare wrote for everybody. He wrote for rich people that were highly educated. He wrote for illiterate people that like dirty jokes. He wrote for everyone. So his plays had to have everything in there. Think of it kind of like you could have a Marvel movie with serious actions and serious dialogue that's all about the fate of the universe, and then, you know, someone makes a fart joke. That happens in Marvel movies too. Okay. Now, the Montagues are going to enter, as you can see by the lines, and let's talk about that.
Hey. You're that's all. Here comes two of the House of Montagues.
My naked weapon is out. Quarrel, I will back thee.
Again, another pun. Alright, here comes the Montagues. Draw thy tool. Pull out your sword. Pull out your weapon. And then Samson says, my naked weapon is out. That's a joke. So tool means both your sword, the tool you use to fight, but also the tool you use in the bedroom. My naked weapon is out. So it's like, remember you talked about being a pretty piece of flesh? Well, let me put my money where my mouth is. Let me take it out. Now, he actually doesn't do that, but they're just making jokes. Quarrel, I will back thee. All right, you start the fight, and I'll back you.
Turn my back and run.
Fear me.
And how will you back me? Another pun. You'll turn your back and run. That's how you're going to back me up. You'll turn around and turn your back on me.
No, Mary, I fear thee.
Let's take the law of our sides. Let them begin.
Let us take the law on our sides. Let them begin. So they want to fight, but they don't want to get in trouble. If you've ever been in high school and there's ever been a fight, the first thing that principal says to whoever was in the fight was either who started it or who threw the first punch. It's not who said the first yo mama joke. It's who threw the first punch. Why? Because that's always the person that gets in the most trouble. Who brought the physical violence to the other person first, not who said what to the other. So they want to get in a fight, but they don't want to start it. So they want the law to be on their sides.
I will frown as I pass by, and let them take it as they list.
Nay, as they dare. I will bite my thumb at them, which is disgrace to them if they bear it.
So, I'll frown by them as I pass by them. I'll give them a weird face. No, that won't work. How about we bite our thumbs at them as we walk by? Now, in America, that means nothing. I've been told that in Europe, that's still an insult in certain parts of Europe. Think of it like giving the middle finger. So you know what? I'll give the middle finger as I walk by them. And then their interaction is actually pretty humorous. But I'll let it play, and then I'll kind of translate it, and then we'll move on.
Oi!
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?
I do bite my thumb, sir.
Do you bite your thumb at us, sir?
Is the law of our side if I say aye?
No.
No, sir. I do not bite my thumb at you, sir. But I bite my thumb, sir.
So let's reinterpret this. So first, when you see aside, that is in a play when a character says something, so it could be to another character or just out loud in general, that the audience can hear, but the other characters on the stage can't hear. So when Samson says that to Gregory, Samson and Gregory can hear it, the audience can hear it, but the Montagues can't. It's kind of like if you've ever seen this in a TV show where the main character looks at the camera, talks to the audience, but the other characters have no idea that this is happening. That's basically an aside. So let me take this interaction, which is funny, and make it more modern. So I'm going to just reinterpret it using that middle finger idiom. Do you give us the middle finger, sir? I do give the middle finger, sir. Do you give us the middle finger, sir? Is it okay? Or are we going to get in trouble? No. Okay. No, sir. I do not give you the middle finger, but I give the middle finger, generally in your direction. And then...
You quarrel, sir.
You want to fight?
Quarrel, sir? No, sir.
Yeah, so the Montagues don't want to fight. The captains want to fight.
But if you do, sir, I am for you. I serve as good a man as you.
No better.
Well, sir.
Say better. Here comes one of my master's kinsmen.
Yes, better, sir.
You lie.
Draw, if you be men. Gregory, remember thy swashing blow.
And they literally start sword fighting in the middle of the street. There's that famous meme, well, that escalated quickly. Yeah, that's the whole play. So why do they start fighting? I serve as good a man as you. My house is as good as your house. No, it isn't. Or yes, it is. But then a Montague walks in, a high-ranking Montague. His name is Benvolio. We'll talk about that in a second. And, we need to actually say that our house is better. So Benvolio thinks we're really defending the house. So we actually have a sword fight for the honor of our house. Now, Benvolio, if you know anything about etymology, beneficent, benevolent, that means good. Benvolio is a good character. You can see by his first lines here. He tries to break up the sword fight. you part fools, put up your swords, you know not what you do. Please stop fighting. And here we go.
Fools! Put up your swords! You know not what you do.
What art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio, look upon thy death.
So Tybalt is a high-ranking Capulet. So now we have high-ranking Capulets, high-ranking Montagues, low-ranking Capulets, or low-ranking Montagues. Tybalt is the tough kid in high school that always wants to fight. So Benvolio wants to stop it, and Tybalt says, "No, turn thee, Benvolio, turn. Look upon thy death," which is a nice way of saying, "I'm going to kill you now."
Do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword, or manage it to part these men with me.
What, drawn and talk of peace? I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward!
What, talk of peace? I'm not going to talk of peace with you. Here's my checklist for things I hate. Hell, all Montagues, and you. And then he literally just jumps in to fight them. So now there's more people street fighting. And then you can see here, enter 3 or 4 citizens with clubs or partisans. Those are different kinds of weapons. So now just random people, like citizens that live in the neighborhood, they jump out and start fighting or defending their land or possessions. Think of it kind of like, if you've ever seen a food fight in one of those high school movies where 2 people start the food fight and then 10 seconds later everyone is in the food fight. Well, that escalated quickly. Yeah, it's just like that. So here we go.
What noise is this? Give me my long sword, ho!
A crutch, a crutch. Why call you for a sword?
My sword, I say, old Montague is coming. Flourishes his blade in spite of me. Now, villain Capulet!
Hold me not, let me go! Thou shalt not stir 1 foot to seek a foe.
So not only does like the whole neighborhood start fighting, Capulet and Montague, so the head of the Capulet and Montague families, they show up, and their wives show up, or at least they're nearby. So this is kind of funny. Capulet says, "What noise is this? Give me my long sword, ho." Ho means hey. Hey, give me a long sword. Give me that long 2-handed sword. She's like, "What are you going to do with that? A crutch, a crutch. You can't fight. You're too old. The only thing you could use that for is a crutch." But on top of that, a long sword is, at this point, an outdated weapon. So he's like not even using the modern weapons. Like, that's how old he is. He's a generation away. That's like saying, "Oh, you're going to go to war? Here's a flintlock musket." Like, yeah, that's going to do nothing. And then Montague, that villain Capulet, homie, let me go. Lady Montague again is like, "Yeah, you're too old. Don't even bother trying to fight. You can't do this." Now, enter Prince Aeschylus with his train. The prince is the leader of Verona. He's kind of like the mayor and the police chief at the same time. He's the head of the civil parts and the head of the military parts of the government. So he shows up. Think of like the police have showed up. So here we go with the prince.
Rebellious subjects! Enemies to peace! Profaners of this nameless stain of steel! Will they not hear?
So he's shown up. He's starting to scream. Will they not hear? They're still fighting. Like, they're not even stopping for the cops.
What ho, you men, you beasts! But quench the fire of your pernicious rage with purple fountains issuing from your veins, on pain of torture from those bloody hands. Throw your mistempered weapons to the ground and hear the sentence of your moved prince.
Okay. So a whole bunch of things here. Really nice metaphor. That quench the fire of your pernicious rage. Your rage, pernicious, is like evil. Your evil rage. I will quench the fire. I will quench to put it out. You've probably heard like quench your thirst. You put out your thirst. I will quench the fire of your pernicious rage. On pain of torture, I will torture anyone here, like lock you up in prison, who's still fighting. So throw your mistempered weapons to the ground. Your ill-tempered, your bad weapons to the ground. And hear the sentence of your moved prince. Hear what I have to say. Hear my sentence. So you see this, we're here, moved, as opposed to moved. So we have that iambic pentameter where Shakespeare needs to hit the 10 syllables per line. So people sometimes cheat and he'll add a syllable. for moved is like one syllable. Maybe 1.5. It's kind of a little bit long of a syllable. But movid is clearly 2. So he's actually kind of cheating here by adding a syllable to moved. Alright. And here we go.
Three civil brawls, bred of an airy word, by thee, old Capulet at Montague, have thrice disturbed the quiet of our streets.
3 recent street fights, civil brawls, and what started them? Airy words. Words started them. 3 times our streets have been disturbed by your fighting.
And made Verona's ancient citizens cast by their grave beseeming ornaments to wield old partisans, in hands as old, cankered with peace, to part your cankered hate.
Yeah, and you've even made the ancient citizens of Verona, meaning not really the old ones, but the people who their families have been here for a long time, use their own weapons to defend themselves. Cankered with peace, to part your cankered hate. Canker means basically cancerous. Your cancerous hate. Your plague of hate that's a plague on the city. And here we go.
If ever you disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace.
If you ever disturb our streets again, if you ever do this again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. So, lives can't pay, that's personification, but that's also a cliche. You'll pay. Your lives will pay. That's an understated way of saying you will die. Your lives, you'll pay with your lives. You will be killed for doing this again.
For this time, all the rest depart away. You, Capulet, shall go along with me, and Montague, come you this afternoon to know our farther pleasure in this case, to old Freetown, our common judgment place. Once more, on pain of death, all men depart!
And everyone leaves. So, alright, Capulet Montague, I'll talk to you separately. Come you this afternoon. That's a syntax thing. You come this afternoon to old Freetown, and on pain of death, you'll be killed if you stay. All men depart. And then everyone leaves, as we can see, and probably just a little bit further away, we still have Mr. Montague, Mrs. Montague, and Benvolio. Here we go.
Who set this ancient quarrel new abroach? Speak, nephew. Were you by when it began?
So who started this? Were you around? Tell us. Now, Benvolio does this a whole bunch of times where he's just going to say everything that happened honestly and truthfully. There's almost nothing here to analyze, so I'll just kind of let it play and then we'll talk after.
Here were the servants of your adversary and yours close fighting ere I did approach. I drew to part them. In the instant came the fiery Tybalt with his sword prepared, which, as he breathed defiance to my ears, he swung about his head and cut the winds, who, nothing hurt withal, hissed him in scorn. While we were interchanging thrusts and blows, came more and fought on part and part, till the prince came, who parted either part.
So yeah, that's pretty accurate. Close fighting ere I did approach. Remember, ere, E-R-E is pronounced ere, means before. Close fighting before I did approach. They were fighting even before I approached. Tybalt, he swung about his head and cut the winds. Like he was swinging so fast, his sword made like the sounds. And we were interchanging thrusts and blows, so like swings. Then the prince showed up. Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Now, Lady Montague says,
Where is Romeo? Saw you him today? Right glad I am he was not at this fray.
So, was Romeo here? Did you see him? Right glad I am. I'm glad he was not at this fray, at this fight. Like, thank God my son, Romeo, wasn't here. Then Benvolio?
Adam, an hour before the worshipped sun peered forth the golden window of the east, a troubled mind drave me to walk abroad, where, underneath the grove of sycamore that westward rooteth from this city side so early...
So, an hour before the worshipped sun peered from the golden window of the east, an hour before the sunrise. A troubled mind drove me to walk abroad. I, had some thoughts, so I decided to go walking around the grove of sycamore trees. And then, so early...
Did I see your son?
I saw your son walking early on.
Towards him I made, but he was ware of me and stole into the covert of the wood.
Towards him I made. I made towards him. I went towards him, but he stole into the covert of the wood. He went into the woods. Like, he saw me, and I saw him, and he just went the other way.
I, measuring his affections by my own, which then most sought where most might not be found, being one too many by my weary self, pursued my humour, not pursuing his, and gladly shunned who gladly fled from me.
So I didn't pursue him, and I gladly shunned him who gladly fled from me. Yeah, he fled from me, and I was glad to just let him go. I wasn't going to follow someone who didn't want to talk to me. Okay. And now, Mr. Montague.
Many a morning hath he there been seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew, adding to clouds more clouds with his deep sighs.
Okay, so Montague's kind of making fun of his son here. Many morning has he been there, so he's been there many mornings, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew. So augmenting means to make greater. The fresh morning's dew. You guys know in the spring or the summer or even the fall when it didn't rain but the grass is wet, that's dew. So he's actually been augmented with his own tears. He's been crying so much that he's adding to the dew on the ground. So he's been crying a lot. Adding to clouds with more clouds with deep sighs. Every time he sighs, it's like another cloud enters the sky, like a rainy cloud. Yeah, he's just saying, my son has been crying a lot. Or something similar to that.
But also soon as the all-cheering sun should in the farthest east begin to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed... Oh,
Aurora is, like a Roman sun goddess. So he means during light or sunset.
Away from light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night.
Alright, away from light steals home my heavy son. Heavy, emotionally heavy, means sad. My son is sad, he runs away from the light, and in his chamber pens himself, so he locks himself in his bedroom, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, so he shuts the blinds, he makes the room super dark, and makes himself an artificial night. So, my son keeps to himself, he keeps his room dark, he's being really emo, and he's like one My Chemical Romance song away from being super emo. Yeah, that's Romeo. And then Montague says,
Black and portentous must this humour prove, unless good counsel may the cause remove.
Black and portentous must his humour prove, his emotional state is not good, he needs some good counsel to remove it. And then Benvolio.
Noble uncle, do you know the cause?
I neither know it nor can learn of him.
Do you know the cause? No, he won't even talk to me. I can't learn of him.
Have you importuned him by any means?
Have you talked to him?
Both by myself and many other friends. But he, his own affection's counsellor, is to himself, I will not say how true, but to himself so secret and so close.
So he's his own counsellor, and he keeps the secrets close to himself. He doesn't tell anybody anything. He only talks to himself. He's his own counsellor.
So far from sounding and discovery, as is the bud bit with an envious worm ere he can spread his sweet leaves to the air or dedicate his beauty to the sun.
So those spelling lines are actually really beautiful and powerful. So it's a simile he's been compared to a bud. So a bud is that little green stub on the end of a flower before it flowers, bit with an envious worm. It's like a worm, a bug, has bitten my son, the flower, before he can spread his sweet leaves into the air or dedicate his beauty to the same. The audio said sun, so I'm going to go with sun. So it's like the bud of Romeo has been bit before he can flower and be beautiful. He's been bit by something that's like holding back his development, his personality, his cheeriness.
Could we but learn from whence his sorrows grow, we would as willingly give cure as know.
Only we could figure out, and then we could give cure. And then we see Romeo enters.
See where he comes. So please you step aside. I'll know his grievance or be much denied.
I would thou wert so happy by thy stay to hear true shrift. Come, madam, let's away.
So yeah, you leave, I'll talk to him, I'm young, you're old, I'm his cousin, I can maybe talk to him about this, but, and then Montague's like, yeah, maybe you can hear true confession. So they leave, and now it's Benvolio and Romeo. Here's our first intro to Romeo and Juliet.
Good morrow, cousin. Is
the day so young?
But you struck 9?
Ay me, sad hours seem long. Was that my father that went hence so far?
So is the day young? Yeah, it's 9. So it's still. So all of this happened, the street brawl and the prince and Samson and Gregory, all happened before 9 o'clock in the morning.
It was. But what sadness lengthens Romeo's hours?
Not having that which having makes them short.
In love?
Out
of love.
Out of her favour where I am in love.
So that's actually fairly clever. So what's making your days long? Are you in love? No, I'm out. Oh, you're out of love? I'm out of her favor where I'm in love. So yeah, I'm in love, but I'm out of her favor. So I love someone who doesn't love me back. Okay?
That love, so gentle in his view, should be so tyrannous and rough in proof.
Love can be gentle, but now it's being rough with you. And one of the things we're going to see over and over again about Romeo, when someone asks him something fairly simple, or when it comes time to express himself, he just goes on and is overwhelmingly dramatic. He just pours his heart out, and we're going to see that here. I don't think the character of Romeo is overacting. Is putting on a show. I think he's saying what's in his soul, saying what's in his heart. He just has a dramatic soul and heart.
Ask that love whose view is muffled still should without eyes see pathways to his will.
Oh, like love is blind and love can't see. We've heard things like that before.
Where shall we dine? Oh me, what fray was here? Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. It is much to do with hate, but more with love.
So he sees like where the battle was, probably blood and bandages and some swords. Like, what happened here? Actually, I already know. This is just as it's about hate, but it's really also about love. And then he's gonna throw a whole bunch of oxymorons, opposites. Because this fight was made from love and hate. Love of your own group, hate of the other group.
Why, then, brawling love, loving hate, anything of nothing first create, heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking, sleep that is not what it is. This love feel I, that feel no love in this. Dost thou not laugh?
So Romeo does this overly dramatic, brawling love, loving hate, heavy lightness, blah blah blah, and then Benvolio's giggling or rolling his eyes or something. Are you laughing?
No, 'cause I rather weep.
No, I'm not laughing. I'm crying.
At what?
At thy good heart's oppression.
At your heart's oppression. That's why I'm crying, because your heart is being oppressed. I'm so sad because of that. So he's actually teasing Romeo, and I think Romeo is interpreting it as genuine. Here we go.
Why, such is love's transgression. Griefs of mine own lie heavy in my breast, which thou wilt propagate to have it pressed with more of thine.
My griefs are heavy in my breast, are sad in my breast and my chest. Your sadness makes my sad even more sad.
This love that thou hast shown doth add more grief to too much of mine own.
Yeah, I'm even more sad now.
Love is a smoke raised with the fume of sighs, being purged of fire, sparkling in lovers' eyes, being vexed the sea, nourished with lovers' tears. What is it else? A madness most discreet, a choking gall, and a preserving sweet. Farewell, my cousin.
And then he just goes off on his own tangent. Love is a smoke made with the fuel of sighs, being purged, fire, blah, blah, blah. I can interpret that and do it line by line, but he's just being overly dramatic, like, that's his thing. Oh, love. You probably all have a friend that is overly dramatic about everything, and you just can't help but roll your eyes. That's Romeo.
I will go along, and if you leave me so, you do me wrong.
I'll go with you.
I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo. He's some other where.
Yeah, that's kind of a cliched idea. I'm not myself right now. I'm not the genuine Romeo. Genuine Romeo is some other place. Who you're talking to now, this is not the real Romeo. This is Romeo with a broken heart.
Me in sadness. Who is that you love?
What shall I groan and tell thee?
Groan? Why, no, but sadly, tell me who.
So, who do you love? Who are you in love with? Tell me, please.
Did a sick man in sadness make his will? Oh, word ill-urged to one that is so ill. In sadness, cousin, I do love a woman.
Finally, I'm in love with a woman. Like, I'm sure we all figured that out, but let's continue.
I aimed so near when I supposed you loved.
Oh, right good markman, and she's fair, I love.
She's fair, she's beautiful, I love her.
Right fair mark, fair cuz, as soonest hit.
Well, in that hit you miss, she'll not be hit with Cupid's arrow, she hath Diane's wit.
So, a whole bunch of things here. There's actually a lot of complexity here. So they're kind of bantering and have wordplay with each other. She'll not be hit with Cupid's arrow. You guys have seen all seen cartoons. You know this. Cupid is like that flying baby that shoots you with an arrow and you fall in love. She will not be hit with Cupid's arrow. She will not fall in love. She hath Diane's wit. Diana, the Roman goddess who's a virgin. So she has the wit of this Roman goddess. She will be a virgin. She will not fall in love.
And in strong proof of chastity, well armed, from love's weak childish bow she lives unharmed.
Unharmed or uncharmed by love. She will not fall in love.
She will not stay the siege of loving terms.
Stay the siege of loving terms. She won't even hear, like, my bad pickup lines. My loving terms.
Bide the encounter of assailing eyes, nor overlap to saint-seducing gold. Oh, she is rich in beauty, only poor, that when she dies, with beauty dies her store.
So, sorry, I've lost my spot. So she's actually, she's so beautiful that as of right now, she's not going to have children because she's not going to be in a relationship, and her beauty will die with her. It will not be passed on. Then Benvolio says, then she hath sworn that she will live chaste. Chaste means as a virgin. So she has sworn that she will be a virgin. And then Romeo says,
she hath sworn that she will still live chaste.
She hath, and in that sparing makes huge waste.
Yes, and that's such a waste. Now, by whoever Romeo's talking about, saying that she's going to be a virgin, that could mean a few things. One, that she's going to be a nun. Two, that she's like, I'm not interested in any relationship. She was just deferring him. Or, like, you know, they were dating, they were in a relationship, but Romeo wanted to go all the way, and she did not. And now Romeo is brokenhearted. So, he's kind of a sketchy dude, a little bit, based on that. She will not give up her virginity. That's why I have a broken heart. Ugh. Alright, let's continue.
For beauty starved with her severity cuts beauty off from all posterity. She is too fair, too wise, wisely too fair, to merit bliss by making me despair. She hath forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead that live to tell it now.
So she has forsworn to love. She has said that she will not love. So like I said, that could mean multiple things. It could mean she could be a nun, she's not interested in Romeo at all, or she's waiting until marriage, or she was dating Romeo and she didn't want to go all the way with him, and now Romeo's brokenhearted.
Be ruled by me. Forget to think of her.
Oh, teach me how I should forget to think.
By giving liberty unto thine eyes, examine other beauties.
Alright, good advice. Don't think about her. Tell me how I should stop forgetting. Here's how we'll get over this. Give liberty unto thine eyes. Give freedom to your eyes. Examine other beauties. Hey, Romeo, open your eyes. Go look at some other pretty girls.
'Tis the way to call hers exquisite in question more. These happy masks that kiss fair ladies' brows, being black, puts us in mind they hide the fair.
No, sorry, won't work. And now the next two lines are actually my favorite lines in the whole play. And they're really powerful and they're really deep. This actually happens all the time in Shakespeare, where a character who could be an idiot can say these beautiful and powerful things.
He that is struck and blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost.
Let's look at that again. He that is struck and blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. Hey, someone that was struck by blindness, so they could see, and then they were all of a sudden blinded, cannot forget what it was like to have vision. You're always living in that tragedy, in that like post-apocalypse. He's saying the same is true of love. I was in love. I cannot now forget what it's like to be not in love, or I can't forget what it is to be in love. I knew what it felt to be in love. Now that it's after and it's over, this is like torture to me. No, those are actually really powerful and beautiful lines. They're my favorite lines in the whole play. Spoken by an idiot. But let's continue.
Show me a mistress that is passing fair. What doth her beauty serve but as a note where I may read who passed that passing fair?
So you show me a pretty mistress, that's only going to remind me of how pretty my girl is.
Oh, farewell, thou canst not teach me to forget.
I'll pay that doctrine or else die in debt.
I'll pay that doctor or else die in debt. Well, you know what? I'll try to find a doctor and pay him, and pay him to take care of that, and I'd be willing to die in debt for getting a really good doctor to pay to cure you. And that's Act 1, Scene 1. It is very long, and that's just the way it is. See you in the next scene.